Mars, we can't hear anything. Can you hear us? Nanda Vihari, we can't hear. We can't hear anything. Hare Krishna.
Number
There it goes.
9.
Hare Krishna, can you hear us?
Haribo?
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay. All right. Usually we use the other camera. So we're gonna, 38 is on the board. Is that right? Mude,
Mudhe,
Vara,
Vara,
Dvajam,
Rajam,
Imam,
Imam,
Vara,
Vara,
Dvajam,
Rajam,
Prahaspate,
Rajate,
Yato, Yad,
Yad,
Uktva,
Ra,
Pitaro,
Haro,
Bharadvajas,
Rajas,
Tatas,
Das,
Twayam,
Rayam,
Mude Bharadvajam Imam,
Mudhe, Rajam, Imam,
Bharadvajam Brihaspate,
Rajat,
Yato Yad Upa Pitaro,
Yato, Yad, Patara,
Bharadvajas Tatas Twayam,
Rajas, Das,
Mude Bharadvajam Imam,
Mudhe, Rajam, Imam,
Bharadvajam Brihaspate,
Rajat,
Yato Yadukta Pitaro, Bharadvajas Tatas Twayam,
Mudhe Bharat
Mude Bharadvajam Imam, Bharadvajam Brihaspate, Yato Yadukta Pitaro, Bharadvajas Tatas Twayam, Mude, O foolish woman, Vara, just maintain, Dvajam, although born by an illicit connection between two, Imam, this child, Vara, maintain, Dvajam, although born of an illicit connection between two. Brihaspate, oh Brihaspati, Yato, left, Yat, because, Uktva, having said, Pitaro, both the father and mother, Bharadvaja, by the name of Bharadvaja, Tata, thereafter, two, indeed, I am this child. Translation. Brihaspati said to Mamata, you foolish woman, although this child was born from the wife of one man through the semen discharged by another, you should maintain him. Upon hearing this, Mamata replied, O Brihaspati, you maintain him. After speaking this way, both Brihaspati and Mamata left. Thus the child was known as Bharadwaja. So there's no purport. This is the last verse in the chapter now. Chodyamana Sadarevam Matva Vitatam Atmajam Vasrijan Maruto Vibran Dato Yam Vitate Yavivaye. In words. Chodyamana, good memories. Although Mamata was encouraged to maintain the child. Repeat. Surai by the demigod. Evam in this way. Matva considering. Vitatam purposeless. Atmajam her own child. Vyas rejected. Maruta the demigods known as the Maruts. Abhibran maintained the child. Datta the same child was given. Ayam this. Vitate was disappointed. Anvaye when the dynasty of Maharaj Bharat. Although encouraged by the demigods to maintain the child, Mamata considered him useless because of his illicit birth. Therefore, she left him. Consequently, the demigods, known as the Maruts, maintained the child. And when Maharaj Bharat was disappointed for want of a child, this child was given to him as a son. Purport. From this verse, it is understood that those who are rejected from the higher planetary systems are given a chance to take birth in the most exalted families on this planet Earth. Purport. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of 9th chapter, 9th canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasty of Kuru. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chaksuram Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarani Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Bhutale. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Ve Pranamami Hari Mukam Karoti Vachram Pangam Langayate Giri Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dina Tarani. Krishna Tudiya Pankaj Panjananta Ajay Me Visitu Manasaraja Hansan Prana Pranam Samaye Kapapata Kantavaro Dhanapito Smaranam Justin. This chapter is a dynasty of Kuru, so it's mostly just listing off all the different kings that were born in this dynasty, with mother and father. Then we get to this one. So just illicit sex is not a new thing. Because this was in, I don't know which age it was. A long time ago. Nowadays, it's not taken so seriously as it was, but even in the demigod society, in the demigods, there's not so much rules about that. But I guess if someone's married, then that's like that Urvasi, she wanted Arjuna, and when Arjuna rejected her because she was, an ancestor somewhere, that so like a mother, she cursed him. She was so angry, wouldn't enjoy with him. She was attracted. She said that the demigods we don't have this kind of it's enjoyment. So that's why people want to go and have planets. Now they just try to make heavenly planets here on Earth. No such thing. Interesting in the purport, prophet says, if someone's rejected from the heavenly planets, they can become very exalted on Earth. So, Bharadwaj became a great sage. He's very honored. In Mayapur, there's Bharadwaj Tila, place where he meditated and lived. And it's a holy place to go to, right? So, because, well, it's difficult. Nowadays, there's so many children born like in these kind of circumstances. I know several devotees come from that type of a background, but they're not exactly rejected from society. Even in early days of American history, it was like that. The child, not only the mother is rejected, but the child is rejected. Some kind of bad karma.
Marge, we can
whatever,
barely hear
whatever.
you and sometimes not hear you at all.
Okay, I gotta
Try
put
to
the
speak into the
microphone.
microphone, okay?
Yeah, well, it's Hari Hari. Hari Hari.
Wow.
How's this? Hari Ball? I'm talking right into the mic now. It's right, not even 2 feet from
Hare Krishna.
Hari Ball?
Yes, that's better, Maharaj. Thank you, that's better.
Now it's all right?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, because I'm right next to the microphone now. I couldn't get much. Now he says he can hear fine. All right, so maybe it's not worth hearing, but what can we do when, there's not much of a purport? We have this whole history of all these dynasties, and then somehow or other, even with Brihaspati, very exalted, and his wife is somehow connected with someone else, and then they both reject a child. Now, I don't know what happened to her. The mother, we don't get that history. She was also condemned in society in the demigods. But in Vaishnava society, there's something called forgiveness, which is the most important thing. And I was just thinking about it this morning. There's a lot of seminars about it, not only in our society, but even they have university courses now on forgiveness. It's the one of the most famous things of Jesus Christ. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing, not condemning when Parashuram strength comes from forgiveness. So there's a lot of confusion about forgiveness. So since I was thinking about it, I'll see what I can say. I just heard another class, forgive or forget. So there's a big difference. And like sometimes you say forgive and forget, but you can't forget sometimes. Like someone is abusive, you know, you don't want to remember it. You don't want to forget that and keep getting abused again. Or someone's a cheater and you have an employee that cheats you and you forgive him and let him keep cheating. It's not good. You might have to put him in prison. You might have to, you know, fire him from the job. It doesn't mean you trust somebody just because you forgive them. Forgiveness is to relieve ourselves of the pain of thinking about the problem all the time. It's not to say that it's okay what the person did. This is a mistake we can make. You know, and I see that with devotees on Facebook. I put something up and there was comments like that. Oh, no, and you have to punish if somebody's a criminal and this and that. Yeah, that's true. But we also have to forgive because otherwise we just carry it around. And it ruins your life. Vengeance. In the Bible, it says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Krishna can take care of it, but it's not for us. Buddha said it's like if I just think and I have to punish this person, you know, it's like drinking poison and thinking, oh, I'll hurt the other person. I'm going to put these hot coals on his head, so I carry hot coals in my hand. And I'll find this person who hurt me and burn him, but meanwhile, you burn your hands. So forgiveness is the strength of the Brahmanas. The Sudra gets his strength from service, humble service. The Vaishya gets from money, he gets power. And the Kshatriya gets from his arms, his fighting ability. And the Brahman's power comes from forgiveness. But it doesn't mean you just ignore it and anybody can do whatever they want. We just forgive them, right? Like modern day, oh, please forgive me. I know you're a loving person. I know you're great. I know you. Please forgive me. But then it's like, so I can do it again. You know, they think if you forgive you, then they're free. But that's not the point. But it's to free ourselves from this. So we don't know in this version what happened to. We know Brihaspati. When these demigods are in very, very high positions like that, even they do something that's not quite right, they may get some kind of reaction, but it's not so serious. Like Indra, Krishna had to, destroy his pride, but he didn't kill him or anything, kick him out of his job. Could have said, well, Indra, you rascal, you can't be the king of heaven anymore. But he just gave him a lesson so he would behave himself after that. So people, and of course this goes on now in politics and in all kinds of things, that someone rises to a very high position in our modern society. They're very, very rich and influential. They can get away with a lot, It's not exactly forgiveness, but they can. And people seem to not, okay, well, he's so great person, and they don't want to believe that he's so bad or whatever. But for devotees, we have to be forgiving. And then one factor is to forgive yourself. Sometimes we get caught up in thinking of all the mistakes we made or what we've done wrong or what we didn't do right, and torture ourselves. That's also not good. We should forgive. Okay, I made a mistake. I wasted my life. I'm trying to be a devotee, but I keep, getting distracted. But we have to forgive ourselves and move on. Let it go. Otherwise, if we think negative, then we just attract more negative energy we think positive, we attract positive energy. Anybody that goes out and tries to preach and experience that, right? If we're in a negative mood, angry mood, stingy mood, then those are the kind of people we meet. Get out of here, I don't have money, right? And then you see someone else in the same place, and everybody they meet is like, oh, I'm so happy to meet the devotee, and they, oh, I've been looking for this. And I'm going, and everybody's saying, I don't need it, I'm all right, I'm fine, good. So this is obvious that Krishna is in the heart, and he knows everything. And he arranges, everything for us. It was when one boy came the other day, Tuesday night program, and he had gotten his 7 books like some time ago. And then somehow he just, on the train or something, he met Chaitanya, who gave him the books the year before. And then he got the invitation and came, and he was really happy. Because they need guidance, once he'd been reading, he read Science of Self-Realization and Journey of Self-Discovery already, and really like it. But he hadn't been to any temple, met devotees again. So, we have to be ready to help everybody and be positive. We had a very nice Joy Pataka Maharaj yesterday, GBC meeting. He gave a PowerPoint presentation. He's been saying like many times that the COVID will never go away until everyone in the world is chanting Hare Krishna. And everybody, oh yeah, of course, we know that. So he made up a big PowerPoint. If anybody wants it, I can give you the link. With all these quotes from Prabhupada, like someone says, well, he's saying to just tell everyone to chant, even if it's just, even if their motivation is not good. And so he gave all these quotes from Prabhupada. That's good. Starting with the one where there was a plague in Calcutta and everybody practically left Calcutta, and hundreds of people were just dropping dead. I mean, a real plague, and literally just dropping dead in the streets. And some sadhu, he made a, Krishna Kirtan and Sankirtan, and went all over Calcutta and went in every house. Everybody joined him from all different interfaith people joined him, and the plague subsided. Prabhupada tells that story a couple times. He said he was 1 year old or 1.5 years old. He heard about it. Kind of said he remembered it. He heard from his parents. So he remembers that he heard about it. But it worked. So, but whatever the problem is, the world, ultimately it's because they're sinful and they can't stop sinning until they get purified. People can't understand what killing cows is sinful. They can understand a little bit that it may be bad for the environment, maybe unhealthy to eat the meat, but they don't understand the real connection. So most people won't take it seriously. But we have to purify the atmosphere. We have to spread the holy name. Prabhupada's books are full of, Prabhupada said, Bhakti Siddhanta, if a disciple wrote something, he would look at it and just count how many times it said Krishna. And you say, okay, this is good, or it's not good. And they would not be happy because he didn't study it. And Prabhupada said, then if my books have any value, at least I put Krishna's name on them. There's some name of Krishna throughout all the time. So if people even read the books, they get, they're chanting. It's also Kirtan. But somehow or other, if we can bring people to our place, or we can go in the mountains and get people to come there, we can go on this subway, but spread the holy name, because that's going to purify the dirty, filthy minds of population. People are really, bewildered. And everyone thinks, well, our situation is new and it's never been so bad before. But it's not. Birth, death, old age, and disease is mentioned very strongly in the Bhagavad Gita, right? As what is it? Symptom of knowledge. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha and Darshanam. Should always be aware of the miseries of birth, death, disease, and old age. So it's not that disease and old age only came now. It's always been there. And people always died. But the disease is not the reason for dying. Prabhupada said that's the effect. Even medically, they really can't. Most cases when people die, unless it's like gunshots or something, they can't really say for sure how they died, what caused it. You say, well, the heart stopped or the brain went dead. But some people say, well, the brain dead isn't because sometimes the heart's still beating. Sometimes why the heart stopped beating? It's the karma. Time ran out. We have a prescribed time. Still, we have to be careful. We have to understand and live right. Take care. Otherwise, we create an atmosphere, a negative atmosphere. We create in the body a place for diseases to develop. The body is an abode of disease anyway. And if we don't live right, then the different diseases attack. And same thing, like I said, if we have negative attitude, always thinking, then negative things happen. Everybody has it, just have, and that's, I remember once I kept seeing this book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And I didn't know much about it. I was a devotee, but I was thinking, well, that's some kind of Maya thing. The guy was a Christian priest, he was a pastor. And he started talking like that in his sermons. And then people said, well, you should write a book. This is really good. So then I thought about it. Prabhupada, he was so positive. There's one very nice conversation where the reporter girl, she was sincere. She said, well, what do you do about when people don't like you? Prabhupada said, what? She said, some people don't like you. Prabhupada, he said, how many books did we distribute last week? And somebody told him, he said, see, many people like her. And then she was like, but what about when people don't like you? Prabhupada said, why should I think about that? Big smile. He said, I just think about the people who like me. So he was totally positive, when devotees in that, especially when in the beginning time, and he was right with everybody. He said, make a magazine. They said, Prabhupada, Krishna will help you. Whatever he asked them to do, and they said, we don't know how to do it. We never did. Krishna will help you, just try. And he did. It worked. Prabhupada himself, he had complete faith. He told us so many times in the teachings of his spiritual master. Because he was trying to follow the order of the spiritual master, he was, even though in the early days in India, he wasn't having any tangible results except for a few donations to print the Bhagavatam, mostly getting rejected. I'm told many times one story, but not here. But we met one man in Bombay. He was quite famous at that time in India, O.P. Nair. He was a music composer for almost all the Bollywood music. And he was a famous debauch and drunkard. And one of his friends brought Prabhupada to his office. He was telling me this story. And the way he got interested in Krishna was he lived there near the Cross Maidan. And the boys were having the festival there. So he went over to see what was going on. And he met a lot of devotees, and the Indian devotees all knew who he was. So he'd say, what should I do? And they'd say, oh, you should become a life member. You should make music with Krishna. And he didn't like that. Then he met one new bhakta that didn't know who he was. He said, you should get some beads and you should chant. You know, I've been chanting and it's so nice. I love it. And he liked that. So he started chanting. And so he said, anyway, this friend brought Prabhupada to his office. This is before Prabhupada ever went to America. And Prabhupada was talking to him and he wasn't very interested. And then his friend said, you know, donation. So, oh, okay, you know, let's get it, finish it up, you know. So he gave 100 rupees. So in the early 60s or whenever it was, that's pretty good, you know. And Prabhupada gave him a book. And he said, I don't need the book. Prabhupada said, no, take the book. And he kept saying, I don't need the book. So Prabhupada gave the 100 rupees back. And then Indian man, he knows that's not good. So he said, okay, I'll take the book. I don't think he ever read it. But Prabhupada he carried on. He was always joyful, even though sometimes he'd come back and, you know, Sumati Maharaji would say, how was it today? So nobody, but he said, tomorrow will be better. Carry on. He was approaching many, many people. When he was first in New York, he was going out to the bookshops. He's also writing many, many letters to people, but practically no result. Many days, he said, collected, you know, $1. Somebody donated. But a few people took books and gradually somebody, you know, got serious. And then all of a sudden, Prabhupada himself said he didn't even expect such a big result. So we have a few minutes if anybody wants to comment or ask a question. Adi's in the kitchen, huh? Any comment or question?
There are 10 comments in the chat, Marge. If you can see that, can you see that? 10 chat
Okay.
comments.
Let's see if I can find the chat. Chat doesn't show up here. Or more.
Oh. Is such grace we do not shun these mothers or children, we help raise them to be a full part of society.
Keep going, Adi Prabhu, keep reading.
Yeah, it says, is it such grace we do not shun these mothers or children, we help raise them to be a full part of society. They go to college and find Krishna. Society is showing this forgiveness and compassion to them before they start the hard. I can't read the rest of it.
That's just a comment.
Yeah, the interesting thing about forgiveness, Marge.
Yeah.
It says that if we surrender to Krishna, if we serve Krishna, then we actually begin to see things appropriately. That there's a misperception when this person has done something to me. Prabhupada said, if somebody offends you, that's their ignorance. But if you take it as offense, that's your ignorance. So we see whatever comes to us as something coming from Krishna. All things work for the good for those who love God. We see this is due to my past misdeeds. Bhagavad Gita says, you are the cause of your pleasure and pain. And then if someone has done something offensive, our appropriate response to them is not just to seek revenge or be angry at them, but to feel sorry for them because they will suffer. Like you said, vengeance is mine. The Lord will repay. So we feel sorry for somebody who's, that makes it easy to forgive them when we understand this is going to come back and bite them in the butt. You know, this is what they're doing is not good. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing, like you said.
Yeah, that's just the issue that needs to be more explained. That many people, you know, that have been abused, when they hear forgive, you know, we have to punish this person. They have to be punished. which that may also be true. You know, I read many things about it. One woman, she had a terribly abusive husband. She had to put him in prison, but she forgave him so she could carry on with her life. She didn't want to just sit around every day just talking about how she suffered and how bad this person was, how she hopes they're going to get killed in the prison or something. Because sometimes we read in the news like there was somebody that murdered somebody's daughter or something. And when that person gets convicted and they're rejoicing, vengeance, justice, but it doesn't bring back the daughter. It doesn't, you know, right? It just means another, like Draupadi was on such a high level that she was thinking how the mother of Ashwatthama would suffer if he was punished, even though he had killed her 5, not even in a fair fight or anything. So that's it. We can't probably hope to be on that level. You know, that's, but Ashwatthama suffered. But then now he somehow ended up with studying with Vyasadeva and got purified, and he said he'll be the next Vyasadeva or something in the next yuga. So even though, you know, he had all this bad karma and did these terrible things, it works out. So what we do is try to make people Krishna conscious. But, you know, if someone comes in the temple and starts making attacks devotees and everything, we don't just say it's okay. You know, we have to call the police and we have to file charges sometimes. But we can also forgive them so that we don't have to, you know, burn ourselves up. Because revenge, the idea, if you want vengeance, you just burn your consciousness up and you can't think of Krishna or anything like that.
Right. So you elaborate a little bit on how forgiveness gives strength for Brahmana? You mentioned a couple of times.
Again, the power of a Brahmana is in its forgiveness. There's a few verses in the 9th canto with Parashuram's father, after he went and killed Kartavir Arjuna and all his soldiers and everything, and, you know, brought back the Saravi cow and everything. And his father said, you shouldn't be angry. We're Brahmanas. You should have forgiven him. You know, it's a king, and the king can do no wrong. So he had that very exalted consciousness, you know, that, okay, karma, we lost the cow, and the king is, you know, lusty, crazy guy. So,
What is it?
but Parshuram had Kshatriya nature
Part 2 now.
because of previous curse of his mother,
So we
her
should.
grandmother, you know, lusty looking at some man.
Okay.
And then they said, your son will be a Kshatriya, but they were Brahmin. Oh, no. He said, okay, your grandson. And so he had the Kshatriya nature, even though he was born in a Brahmin family. So the Brahmin's power makes him, like Lord Brahma, it said, got his post because of forgiveness. I don't know exactly how to step by step say how it works. You know, that's up to Krishna, but there's many examples, so that it's all there in that little speech by Jamadagni. It's very important for us. We're supposed to be Brahminical, so we want to help people. You know, that people are suffering, and you know, it's easy to just get upset and these people wasting their lives and foolish. They are, because devotees should think we haven't preached enough. We're not preaching. We haven't given enough books. We haven't done enough hard enough. We don't have enough food for life. We don't have enough of anything. You know, we're just barely touching, like, you know, we think we're very successful. You know, in India, temples have thousands of devotees, but it's nothing compared to the population of the cities. Nothing compared to the people that are rushing down the royal road to hell. So we have 1 minute, right? So we stop.
No.
Huh? We wait till they open. It's sometimes late.
I have a quick comment. Sometimes we think this forgiveness is a very high standard. That's up to the Brahmanas. And I'm not a Brahmana. I'm lowly. And I should just act.
Yeah, well, we're Vaishnava. And the Vaishnava is supposed to be the best of the Brahmanas, right? Dujashesta. So we have to pray to Krishna, because when we're in a vengeful mood, or just not even maybe exactly, but we're just upset with somebody doing something we don't like. We can't focus on sadhana. We can't focus on anything because we keep thinking, oh, that, what am I going to do with this? That's one reason that we don't like to become managers. Because then there's always some kind of trouble. Maybe inside or outside, and you have to think about it. You can't ignore it. But you can't take it. You have to understand this is Krishna testing me.
And should we expect forgiveness for ourselves to do something weird?
Yeah. Please forgive me. I know you're all good people. Please forgive me. Right? But like I said, many times when people are asking for forgiveness, it's to get liberation. I can do it again. I know you'll forgive me. You're very kind. So when Indra approached Krishna for forgiveness, but he also said, I know it's your nature and you'll forgive me, but please give me intelligence not to do this again, not to be so stupid again. That's a proper attitude. But we have to forgive ourselves, but not think, okay, I can carry on being stupid. Like, we should be a fool in front of the guru. It doesn't mean you should be stupid and say, Guru, I can't do that. I'm too stupid. Don't ask somebody else, We should just think the guru knows more than me. That's what it means. The guru knows more than me, so I'll just say, okay, I'll try. The guru, when he gives an assignment, he gives the ability. But even if he gives an assignment and we can't do it, if we try, then we get the mercy. Prabhupada, amazingly, before he even stood up from paying obeisances, Bhaktisiddhanta told him you should preach to Western people, speaking people, and he was like 23 years old or something, newly wed, child. But he took it, but he didn't do it, until in the 40s he made the Bhagavatam. Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Or so it automatically, I leave the meeting. It's not ending.